Thank you very much, gentlemen. As we near the midpoint of our time, let me offer a few important reminders of additional information available during the 2010 election season. First, I invite you to visit our online information site at KUED.org to watch repeat presentations of our programs, receive important voter information connections, and additional information on each ballot qualified candidate in Utah's federal and statewide elections. Our partners at the Hinckley Institute also have an array of election resources available at their website, hinckley.utah.edu. And if you're part of the Comcast cable television family, visit your on-demand section for an array of candidate profiles, voter information, and repeat presentations of broadcast debates made possible by our partners at Comcast. Back to our debate between candidates for United States Senate. This next question comes from Jason in Tooele, and he sent it via Facebook. And his question basically indicates, Ken, I wonder if the candidates will be honest on this one. What is the one issue they fear the most that they believe will keep them up at night as a United States Senator when they go back to Washington? Mr. Granato, you're going to get the first opportunity. What is the issue that is so complex, so challenging, and devoid of easy shoot-from-the-hip solutions that it's going to keep you up at night?
There are no easy shoot-from-the-hip solutions. I'm not afraid of anything that I get into, though. And once I look at the situations, once we have the opportunity to fix something that is out of whack, I will get into it. I'll work with both sides of the aisle to figure out the solutions that's best for our country. But what's going to keep me up at night? I can't tell you what would keep me up at night, because I'm not afraid to get in and get the job done. I've done that throughout my whole career, whether it's in my business. I've been a businessman. I have had sleepless nights. I've learned, you know what, there's not a lot you can do about it unless you bring the right players around. You sit at the table, you analyze the situation, and you forget your fear. We shouldn't have a fear if we're working towards the right goal. And the right goal for me begins with Utah and expands out to the rest of this country. Thank you.
Mike Lee, what would you say to Jason? What's the issue that's looming out there if you're back in Washington that you know is going to be a special challenge?
I think there isn't any question at all that what's on the minds of people throughout Utah, as I've visited with them, and I know on the minds of people throughout America, is jobs. We're losing jobs at exactly a time when we need more of them badly. We're losing them, I believe, and not creating new ones at the rate that we should be, because the federal government controls too much of the economy. It commandeers and spends about 25 cents out of every dollar, 25% of our gross domestic product, which is too much. That's unsustainable, especially when you consider the fact that we've got this huge national debt approaching $15 trillion. We're still adding to it at a rate of about $1.5 trillion every single year. When we're spending at that rate and imposing massive tax and regulatory burdens on the American people, people are feeling ill at ease to invest. When Americans don't invest, jobs don't get created, and the economy suffers. American families suffer. Individuals suffer to a tremendous degree. We have to find a way to reverse this. We won't be able to reverse it effectively, I believe, until we are well on the road toward controlling federal spending and toward solving our debt problem. I think the answer to all of these, even though it's not an easy answer, it's not a quick answer, one way or another, a permanent solution has to involve a balanced budget amendment, telling Congress that it may not spend more than it takes in any given year, and that it should not spend more than 15% of gross domestic product in any given year. If Congress has this as its target, we can prosper again as Americans are encouraged to invest again with confidence.
Scott Bradley, your opportunity. Is there a sleepless night issue out there for you?
There certainly is. And Jason, it is not something that would just come to me as I went into the Senate. I've had this problem for decades. So it's an easy question for me. The question has to do with continuing those that are in office in violation of their oath of office. As we have abandoned the principles, the sound, timeless principles of the United States Constitution, we have spiraled downward as a nation. My great concern is that we might be able to return to those sound foundational principles and bring this nation back on track again so that we might be able to solve these other problems that the other candidates are speaking about. I think that they have relatively simple solutions once the United States Constitution is re-implemented. That's what the founders found back at the end of the 1700s and beginning of the 1800s. We would find a similar solution today if Americans insisted that those that held office honored their oath of office to sustain, support, and uphold, so help me God, that United States Constitution that we were bequeathed at such great cost. I think all the problems, all of the issues, all the challenges that face this nation have a relatively simple answer, and that is, let's get our representatives to return to the Charter of the Nation, that contract with America that the founders considered to be a written, binding contract. So, Jason, I hope that you'll help me bring about a return to those great principles, and I hope we get to talk about that balanced budget amendment one of these times when the question comes up again.
Well, that may pop up again too, but we're moving in a different direction right now as we go back to our studio audience for the next question. It's easier with 2 candidates. With 3 candidates, I have to remind myself. I believe Mike Lee will have the first 90-second opportunity to respond to this question.
How will you support the state's right, Utah's right, to control the type of radioactive waste that can be imported from other states?
I want to make clear at the outset, I lost my father to cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, about 14 years ago. His name was Rex Lee. He was a good man. He was a downwinder. He contracted this form of cancer as a result of his exposure as a downwinder. I've missed him every single day since he's been dead. So has every member of my family. I wouldn't want any other family to have to endure what we've gone through as a family. That's why I will fight tooth and nail to keep out material from Utah that would do us harm. Just as I fought tirelessly while serving as Governor Huntsman's general counsel to keep spent nuclear fuel out of Utah. And we'll continue that fight. As far as other material that people have sought to bring in, any plans for bringing foreign material in have been abandoned by those who talked about importing it, and we're moving on from there. We have a beautiful, pristine state, and I will fight to keep it that way, to maintain a healthy environment where we can live.
Mr. Bradley, it's your opportunity to respond to the subject of the state's right to determine nuclear waste storage.
I'm firmly of the conviction that this state shall not become a dumping ground for anybody. And I would hope that the state may continue to fight that battle and win. It is not the national government's prerogative to force us to take those kinds of things on us. And therefore, as a senator, I would find myself in a position supporting those representatives that you, as a state, would have in this state, resisting those efforts by anyone that might try to bring those things in. But I understand that this could be taken as an anti-nuclear philosophy. I believe that nuclear power is a valuable power that should be developed. But the storage of nuclear waste is not a well understood issue. It can be recycled, if you will, and reused on the sites that they are currently in need of having nuclear power developed there. And it may be recycled and recycled until its waste is very, very innocuous, not completely, but I believe that those things should be stored on the site wherein they are generated. So Utah should not become a waste facility or a site, and I would by all means resist that if the national government had any say in that, but I do not believe that the battle will be fought there. I believe it will be fought within the state with our representatives here, resisting that and preventing that from happening at our borders, and not at a national level wherein the federal government dictates a solution.
Mr. Granato, now your opportunity.
I do not want Utah to become the dumping ground of the world, or even of the United States. Mike, you confuse me. You were hired by Governor Huntsman to keep out energy solutions and foreign nuclear waste. After Huntsman left, you went to work for Energy Solutions as their chief counsel and fought the state to bring it in. So it's a little confusing. I know that you bring up your father, you use your family connections to get a job there. I'm not sure which way you're going.
Oh, well, I think we have the first grounds for rebuttal time this evening, gentlemen. And Mr. Lee, please take that first opportunity.
I respectfully have to point out here, I think I disagree with every single word he just said, including it, but, the, and. I have never worked for Energy Solutions. My law firm was retained by them, and I did serve them as outside counsel. I was never their chief counsel. I was never an in-house counsel. I did work on a case in which they were challenging the authority of a state to make import decisions. Import decisions are one of the few decisions that are placed off of the table for states. Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution says that power belongs to Congress and may not be exercised by the states. There was nothing incompatible between that and anything I did with Governor Huntsman, which related to an entirely different type of material, spent nuclear fuel, and it didn't involve this import issue. Therefore, the state had the ability to make that decision. It did not with respect to import decisions.
Any more on this subject, gentlemen?